Alright guys, so this is the first video for Unit 7, so congratulations, we only have 2 more units left, yay! Okay, so you should have your study guide in front of you. It should say Chapter 15 Study Guide on top of it, Section 1. So this is on the atmosphere. So the big idea, Earth's atmosphere is a mixture of gases that moves heat and allows life to exist on Earth. So at the top it says atmosphere equals mixture of gases. So make sure you've got that down. All right, so there's a couple different purposes for our atmosphere. The first thing is for breathing. Without our atmosphere, we would not be able to breathe in oxygen. You can only survive a few days without food or water, but less than 5 minutes without oxygen. So our atmosphere is very important for that. The second thing is it protects us from harmful solar rays like the UV and gamma rays that you get when you're out in the sun a lot. You would get burned basically if you did not have an atmosphere because the solar rays would come through very strongly. Another one is warmth, so it also traps heat, and sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. We would not only burn to death, but we also freeze to death at the same time, so not a very pleasant death if we didn't have an atmosphere, but it does keep us warm. And then it also gives us water and water vapor. It traps that in, and also it has protection from most meteoroids from space. So a lot of the things that hit our atmosphere actually burn up in it, which is good. And so without our atmosphere, we would have a lot more impacts and probably a lot more craters, kind of like the moon does, because the moon doesn't have an atmosphere. So what makes up air? There's a couple of different things that are in our air. The most common element that's found in our air is nitrogen, and a lot of people think it's oxygen. It's actually not. So nitrogen is 78%, and this is actually used to make proteins. 21% of it is oxygen. This is mostly from photosynthesis, which you'll learn about in 7th grade. This is where plants turn carbon dioxide into oxygen, which is really, really good. There's a couple of different things that use oxygen, so cellular respiration. This is with plants and animals so that way they can grow. Oxidation, we talked about this with chemical weathering, that we wouldn't be able to have rust or anything like that without oxygen. And also combustion, which is like a candle. If you did not have oxygen in the air, then you wouldn't be able to have a candle. So all those space movies and things like that where things are blowing up in space, can't happen because there's no oxygen in space, so there would be no burning. The last 1% is other gases, and the most common of those other gases is carbon dioxide, so make sure that you know that too, that we also have carbon dioxide in our air, which is actually the stuff that we breathe out. Once we have breathed in that oxygen and nitrogen, we actually convert it into carbon dioxide. Air also contains a couple other things that are not so good for us, so you should be at the top right-hand column of your notes at this time. Human pollution is also in the air. Natural pollution is also in the air, and this includes dust, volcanic ash, sea salt, dirt, pollen, and smoke from forest fires are, yes, still in the air. Water vapor, we talked about this with our water cycle a little bit. The amount varies from 0 to 4%, and that's humidity. So if you go outside and your hair becomes all, like poofy like mine does when it's really humid outside, that's because there's more water vapor in the air. So there is water vapor in the air. There's also liquid water in the air, and this also includes rain, and also solid water like ice and snow can also be in your air as well. So the only question that I have for you, air is about blank % nitrogen and blank % oxygen, and you have that little pie graph at the bottom of your notes. Make sure that you label it. The big one is 78%, and that is nitrogen. The smaller one off to the left-hand side is 21%, and that is oxygen. And then you have this little sliver right here that represents the 1% of other gases, and make sure that you write off to the side carbon dioxide as well. You do not need to do that, so don't worry about that. But make sure that you have the back. Don't fill it out yet, but make sure that you keep this handy with you so that way you can do your notes for the rest of the week on the same sheet of paper. Okay, make sure you get your notes and bring them in tomorrow. Have a great evening.